Hello and happy birthday to all you beautiful Pisces out there. Welcome to your November 2025 tarot card reading. Let's go ahead and get started here. Oh, we got a card initially. Okay. The first card that comes out says, don't let pride get in your way. So there might be some significant adjustments that are required. We need to remember, excuse me, that Venus is still she's retrograding in March. Okay, so March 1st, she officially retrogrades. She's in Aries. And the Venus retrograde always calls for adjustments, and specifically adjustments for you within the realm of finance. But it is Venus, so there's a lot of relational stuff that comes through as well. So, this is not a time to just stand firm for no good reason. Okay, obviously, I'm not trying to tell you to lower your standards or anything like that, but we don't want our egos to get too in the way, because it's possible that you might lose or miss something that really doesn't need to be lost. Okay, so let's see what comes through with the animal spirit deck. What is it that Pisces needs to know here? We have transformation is beautiful, which really speaks to this notion of, adjustments and the evolution of a human being, the evolution of your path, and being willing to change and evolve and mold yourself as circumstances see fit. Again, there's a lot of strength here. I'm not saying that you're, people pleasing or anything, like you're not, lowering standards or anything like that. I think there's a lot of empowerment, but that empowerment for you really comes through not necessarily what you do or how you interact with people, but more so how you allow yourself to become the person that you need to become in order to achieve the things that you're hoping to achieve. So let's see what else comes through here with the tarot. What is it that Pisces needs to know for March 2025? It is kind of a big season. We have an eclipse this month in Virgo, okay? Big total solar eclipse. Excuse me. So let's see. Three of Coins, Knight of Wands, and the World. So it feels as though that Three of Coins is really business oriented. Okay, and this is what I mean with Venus retrograde in your second house, house of money. There are probably some big adjustments going on there in terms of your workplace, what it is you do for your livelihood, that kind of thing. But what I really like about the Three of Coins is that there's a lot of collaboration, a lot of working with people, a lot of commissioned work, a lot of clientele coming through. There might be even some financial influx, honestly, with the Three of Coins. I don't really see hardship here. It just means that this is probably going to be a point of focus for you to some degree. Now, the Knight of Wands, I think this is clearly you, Pisces, is very buoyant, of course, quite optimistic. There's a quality of adventure, right? So you might be kind of starting to take some kind of a new track to some degree. And that might be kind of hard. But I think the Knight is one of the cards that we would like to see, right? A Knight card for overcoming challenges, because this is a warrior. And the thing about the Knight of Wands is that he can be quite impatient. I don't know that you're in a position right now where you're willing to just sit around and wait for things. I think you're right now saying, I got to push this through. I got to really make this happen. Keep in mind, excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm still getting over a flu. Keep in mind that Mars is now moving direct. It's still in Cancer, but it is moving direct nonetheless. So we're not really dealing with a lot of the Mars retrograde stuff anymore. I mean, technically Mars is still in his post shadow, so yeah, there will still be a little bit, but I think for the most part, the bulk of the retrograde challenges have come to a close, at least for the Mars stuff. We still have Venus to contend with. But I think now we're getting that notion of like, okay, we can start moving a lot faster, we can start doing a lot more, we can start taking these leaps and bounds. And there's just kind of a sense of I can do it in the air. You think you can and you go do it. And with the world, it speaks to an end, it speaks to a closure, it speaks to an evolution. I think that speaks to the Transformation is Beautiful card quite well, where you're crossing this threshold and you're really willing to kind of move into a completely new space. Now, I feel like this transition is happening somewhat gradually with the World card. I'm seeing somewhat of a contradiction here between the Knight of Wands and the World, where the Knight of Wands is so fast and so ready to go, but the World kind of paces you a little bit. So I think the universe is kind of setting you up for success here by saying, hey, Pisces, we don't want you to overextend yourself or get you too ahead of yourself. Now, keep in mind, right, don't let pride get in your way. Sometimes a knight can be a little bit naive and can be a little bit prideful as well. And it can kind of have that attitude of like, no, I can do it now. I can do it all at once. I can handle all this work. I can do it, you know. And that's great to be able to do that. But we also want to be somewhat honorable, right? Where we honor our capabilities, we honor our bandwidth, so we're not stretching ourselves so thin that we kind of fall through where things start falling through the cracks, right? Because the whole point is to succeed. The whole point is to get yourself to the next level. It's not to crash and burn, right? So excuse me, I'm so sorry for the coughing. Try not to do it in the microphone, but I think it still picked it up anyway. But the Knight of Wands and the World do contradict. But when we can kind of align these things together, and you can use your excitement and your passion of the Knight of Wands, but also understand that there is kind of a longer stretched out time frame for your benefit, you know, then maybe you can kind of handle things a little bit more. But I do see you being really ready to go, which is great. And I see you ready to build, ready to collaborate. Maybe there's a lot of planning and organization and structure going on. You know, Pisces is opposite Virgo. Virgo is where the eclipse is going to be, 23 degrees of Virgo, a total solar, full moon solar eclipse. And, you know, it's going to be quite potent, but to have the Pisces Virgo axis activated like that, you know, there is a lot of preparation that needs to come through as we're preparing to make that change as we cross the equinox points, right? Because when we start crossing over the equinox points, we have spring and autumn, both of these kind of new seasons depending on your hemisphere, right? So these new seasons of massive change, we're like right on the precipice of that. So this is your opportunity to really prepare for that. Okay, so we have to kind of honor the slower pacing of that World card. So again, so that we are prepared to be able to handle what's to come. Let's see, and there's the Tower, which signifies kind of a drastic change or a drastic change of course. It seems like you've been manifesting something for quite a while with that Three of Wands, and I think you have been quite patient. You've been patient for things to come in. I also kind of am getting a sense that you're tired of being patient. You're tired of things taking time. It's been the Mars retrograde since like October, November, December, when he was in pre-shadow and everything really started to get affected by Mars. And I think we're past that point where we're like, okay, we're tired of this. We're tired of this continuing on. We're ready just for the next thing already. So, whatever it is that you've been waiting for or you've been asking for, I think you're about to turn that corner, as we see with the Tower. Now, that eclipse happens on the 14th, which of course is the middle of the month. This is the very middle card of the reading. So I think this Tower coincides with the eclipse. So there's probably going to be something quite significant that goes on during that time that kind of forces you to move on or to move into a new space somehow. And I think to a degree, you're ready for this. This is something that is wanted. It's something that you've always wanted. I don't think it's going to be exactly how you thought it was going to go or exactly according to plan, but I think you're okay with that. Again, the Tower seems to be adjustment related. I often see the Tower kind of being that process of the scales of justice kind of coming into an equilibrium here. And this, I think, is what's going to kind of force this transformation a little bit, where you're going to have to elevate, you're going to have to grow, you're going to have to lift yourself up to that next level in order to really embrace what it is you've been asking for. And this may coincide with certain losses or certain rearrangements or certain sacrifices, because again, that eclipse is conjunct the South Node in Virgo. So it's very likely that things need to go out. Things need to be washed clean, or they need to be eliminated in some way, shape, or form, so that you have the space to really move on. But when those things go away, right, transformation, it creates space for you to step into this beautiful butterfly energy and start to fly, which I think is what you've always wanted, right? With the Knight of Wands, the Three of Wands, you've clearly been wanting this. You've been wanting it. You've been asking for it. You've been manifesting it. And here it is. It does seem like there's going to be a big turning point for you. Now, the Pride card kind of speaks to the Tower as well. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Because I know that the Tower can be so much more brutal when we are prideful and when we hang on and when we're not willing to release and let go. It can be so much harder. So we want to really keep that pride and that ego in check. And we want to, kind of keep that idea of the way we think it's supposed to go in check as well, and be a little bit willing to kind of take detours here, because it is Pisces season. And Pisces season is malleable, it is immutable, it is a water sign, and it is not a straightforward type of thing. It knows no boundaries, it does not take any type of shape or form. And so we have to kind of expect the unexpected during this time, especially because of the eclipses. So, we're just kind of in that space where we have to be open for whatever the universe has to bring. But I do think the Tower card is going to be welcome, and you will understand why it had to happen as soon as you start moving on. Because again, this is immediate. The Tower happens and then boom, immediately Eight of Cups, you start moving on. You start leaving something behind. And the Eight of Cups is not an easy card. I guarantee you that. It is not easy. It's one of those cards that you really, you have to want what's on the other side, right? You have to be willing to traverse the darkness and traverse the abyss and to go into an unknown in order to really be available, I guess, for whatever comes next, but you have to be willing to go through that period of the big question mark, because you don't really know where this is all headed. You don't really know. You hope for the Nine of Cups, you hope for the Ten of Cups, but it's still a little bit of a kind of hands up in the air, surrender, faith, trust. It's Pisces season. We have to allow ourselves to just believe that the divine has our best interests at heart, and it does. And I'm sure we do believe that. It's just this is kind of putting it to the test a little bit. Okay, Judgment. See, there does seem to be an element of understanding Often with the Judgment card, I see some degree of epiphany or like an awakening, like where you suddenly start to see something very clearly, and you do kind of come up out of a darkness of some kind. So again, it speaks to having clarity around whatever is going on here with the Tower card. The Five of Swords, you know, I'm kind of thinking that, so I'm kind of seeing that there are other people involved here, which would make sense with Venus in her retrograde thing. Also, Mercury is going to be retrograding as well. Just keep that in mind. He doesn't officially retrograde in March, but he will be moving through his pre-shadow phase. Okay, he'll go through the first 9 degrees of Aries in a pre-shadow. So we're going to kind of start to feel that, and he'll retrograde back into Pisces along with Venus as well. So Venus and Mercury are like super, super tight with their retrogrades right now. So as the end of March approaches and we start to enter Aries season, we hit the equinox point and all of that, you know, there's going to be stuff that comes up. Now, what I'm wondering is that this may, like, again, I'm seeing more contradiction. I'm seeing a little bit more of a challenge where in your heart of hearts, you know that this kind of had to happen. You have the clarity surrounding it. And yet maybe also your pride is kind of coming in here and saying, I still want to fight for it. I still want to keep it going. I still want to make it happen. I still want to go for it. I still want to do this. I still want to do that. Instead of letting the river of life kind of carry you into the next thing, this is you maybe swimming upstream a little bit. And this may have to do with other people. You know, it may have to do with maintaining certain relationships or keeping certain things intact when the Tower clearly is saying that this is not meant to be intact anymore. It's meant to fall apart. It's meant to disappear, and it's meant for you to walk away from. Again, I think a lot of this may have to do with your financials and your financial life a little bit, but again, there's relational stuff here. It involves other people. So, you know, you are going to have to be a little bit picky here. And with the Hermit, I think that's what he's doing, is he's really looking quite deep into these options that you have. He's looking deep into the paths that are presented and saying, okay, I can either hang on, even though, again, this to me is like in self-defiance, because you already have the clarity with the Judgment. You already have the sight that you need. And I'm so sorry. I've just been dealing with a flu, and it's just a whole thing. But you already have the clarity here, and you already know and understand this, and understand why, and understand how, and where you need to go, and what you need to be. But now here it's like, oh, but I'm not ready. Again, it might be the kind of butterfly trying to go back into the cocoon a little bit and saying, I just want to go back into my safe place. I want to go back into a place where I can control it. Because I think the problem with Pisces season is that and eclipse season combined, is that we just so rarely have control. This is not a controlled season. I think we try, especially under the Virgo banner with the Virgo eclipse going on. We try to have control. But really, this is a time of chaos to a degree, okay? It's preparatory, and we can prepare for things, but we also need to be willing to let things turn over. Because again, we're preparing for a huge season of change as we cross over the equinox, right? Spring and autumn are like the two seasons that are most obvious, right? Because we have, especially in spring for the Northern Hemisphere, right? We have a lot of death throughout January, February, and March. There's no plants, there's no trees, there's no bugs, there's no nothing. And then in April, things start to warm up. It starts to rain. We start to get the weather, and things start coming back to life through May and June. So we're starting to like come back to life a little bit. But this is kind of us maybe not realizing that quite yet, or being afraid that maybe that won't happen this time, afraid that that we're kind of hitting this point of like, it's not going to go the way we think it's going to go. It's too dark and it's too scary and the abyss is too much and it's too unknown. I really don't. I'm just clinging, 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 clinging. And I think you're going to have to really look and ask yourself why it is you're clinging so hard for something that your heart has already kind of let go of. So the hermit is no stranger to asking himself difficult questions. And I think, Pisces, you're going to have to ask yourself some very difficult questions this month about why it is that you're digging your heels in like this. Because everything seems to be pointing towards something new, something different. And yet there is a strong desire to keep things intact even after the tower has already happened. So yeah, let's see what comes through with the clarifiers. Okay, so for those of you who are new, I'm going to pull out 27 more cards. We're going to talk about all these cards in the comprehensive reading. The link for that will be in the description box in the comment thread down below. We usually talk for another 25 to 30 minutes about all these cards. So we really try to get a lot more detail and go a lot more in depth into this story a little bit. So if you want to join, you are more than welcome. But if you don't, I would say that the one piece of advice that I would have for you is to take this hermit energy very seriously, because if you're looking down two drastically different paths and one of them has you trying to repeat or keep something intact that has already been trying to leave your life, chances are it's going to get pushed out one way or another. So the easiest path, okay, is to just let it go. And I think that's what the Knight of Wands ultimately wants. So this might be a little bit disarming, because you're like, well, I thought I wanted it and now it happened and I manifested it and I made it happen. Now I'm like, I'm not sure that I want it anymore. So there might be a little bit of backtracking going on there. Okay. All right, Pisces, what comes through here with the Three of Coins? Three of Cups. Beautiful. Nine of Cups. King of Cups. Another Knight. Star, beautiful. Another Knight. Again, a lot of Knights. Nine of Swords. Justice. Ten of Wands. Magician. Beautiful. I love the Ten of Cups. I always say that the Tower is the Wheel of Fortune in disguise. Wow, yet another Knight. A lot of Knight cards coming out. I like the Knights for you. Empress, Queen of Coins. Another, well, Wheel of Fortune. Five of Swords. I think this has a little bit to do with trusting yourself. I think you may struggle a little bit with that once we hit Aries season, that you may be struggling a little bit with trusting yourself. And there's really no need. I think you have all the reason in the world to trust yourself and your abilities. Okay? All right, we're going to talk a little bit more about this though. So if you want to join, you're more than welcome. Link is down below. Thank you all so much. I hope you have an amazing March, and I'll talk to you soon.